Hey guys, Asher Comanche today, Watcher of Realms. Welcome to the video. I'm glad to have you all here. Taking a little bit of time out of your day, chilling with me, talking some Watcher. Today's gonna be a great video because I saw this comment and it really freaking bummed me out. 2 days ago, I hope George is still watching the channel. He seems like he needs a little love. All you need is love. Brr, 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 brr. Maybe this could help you with something to make a video on. I was about 3 months in. I had Volca A1, a lot of Legos, almost all epics A5 uninstalled because I couldn't figure out the gearing. At level 74 for the account, I was getting hammered in the arena with by level 50 players because my gear sucks so bad. All the vids I watch is talk about the who heroes, not how to max out gear. Hope that helps you. Much respect. Happy days. Well, I like that he ended with happy days. Well, let's talk about this, guys. I'm not going to be able to answer all of the gearing questions, that's going to help out every player for every single hero in the game in one video. But what I can do is share what I've learned in my Watcher of Realms journey. Specifically today, I want to focus on how to just get more damage out of your team because a
wise man once said,
a good defense is offense, right? Sometimes. But we will touch on build and advice for really all over the place in the game. I want to start with I want to get into DPS. I want to get into nukers. I want to cover a little bit of healers and tanks as well. But I want to start with just some basic advice that can help everybody out. Things that I learned along the way. Some of them through collaborations that I've had on this channel, right? And number one is most recently, in case you missed yesterday's video, man, I cleared, or Fastidious helped me clear, or basically cleared for me, Gear Raid 3, right? So I had done Gear Raid 1 all the way to stage 21, Gear Raid 2 all the way to stage 21, but Gear Raid 3, I struggled with it, man. I struggled with it. And the one thing he did that it sounds obvious now in hindsight, but I came from Raid Shadow Legends, and that's a game where you kind of build a champion. You don't change their gear up that much because changing all the gear on a champion in raid, it costs you like 1,000,000 silver. It's very, very expensive and an arduous process. But in this game, if you're trying to clear crucial content for the first time, and especially Gear Raid 1 and Gear Raid 3, Gear Raid 2, like it's great, don't get me wrong, but Gear Raid 3 is where all the good sets are at. In Gear Raid 1, obviously our weapons and breastplates, so you're gonna need to run that too. But man, that should be top priorities in terms of gear raids, right? And again, Gear Raid 2 is great, but just Gear Raid 3 is where it's at for the end game sets, right? Anyway, I was looking at it through a raid lens in this game, right? And the biggest thing, I'll just get to the point here, is that get to the point, man, get to the point. The biggest thing is I had all of my heroes basically built with like pretty good gear on. Like everybody had good gear essentially. So what we had to do is change my mentality when you're trying to clear content for the very first time, so you can unlock the power of dominance and then put mediocre gear on those heroes, right? Because you have the power of dominance at that point. But when you're trying to clear content for the first time in this game, you need to put your best gear, especially on your DPS, sometimes your tanks as well, right? But you need to put your best gear on your account, on the DPS, on the marksman, the mages that you're using to try to clear said content for the first time. After that, you'll get the power of dominance. You'll get that massive stat boost to where you can put those heroes in okay gear. Now, it might be a hero used everywhere. You just want to keep good gear on them. There's always exceptions to the rule. But that's one thing I just wasn't doing. I was trying to have my cake and eat it too. I was building all my heroes with all the best gear I could get on them. And when you're trying to clear something for the first time to really start farming in that area, you need to mule your gear around, okay? The second thing is I was really late to the party in taking advantage of invigoration sets. It's really important and they're really, really strong inside this game. Invigoration gives when deployed, the hero and a random ally in range gains 10% attack. 10% attack can be a difference maker in content that you're trying to clear, especially for the first time. It's really when you start to min-max your team, try to min-max your damage, right? It's really powerful, right? Now, on invigoration, just make sure the champion or the hero, make sure they're facing the hero that you want them to apply invigoration to. Sometimes it's a little awkward. Make sure you do it. All right, so those are some just broad tips for you guys. Another tip too is for gear swapping. I know a lot of players out there, and this is something that I think Vestidia said on the channel too, is a lot of players out there, they'll kind of write down, maybe on a like old school notebook. Do any of you guys actually write anymore? You just type? I like writing. I'm old school, even at work. I take notes on pieces of paper. I like it. I'm old. Make pairs in your mind. Make pairs or even trios of heroes that you swap gear between, right? Usually heroes that you don't use in the same content. That way it's easier to remember and you're not gonna forget how to swap the gear, who to swap the gear back to. It's free to swap gear in this game, so take advantage of it, right? Take advantage. All right, so let's talk about DPS. Let's talk about what I've learned. Number one is I just wanna go to the number one BP, the strongest hero on my account, and that's Silas, okay? A few things you'll notice right off the gate here. A, he's in some of my best gear, right? Great. B, he is attack bonus, crit damage, and crit damage is main stats, okay? So again, attack percentage, crit damage, and crit damage. Why? Why would you build someone with 2 crit damage and 1 attack versus 2 attack and 1 crit damage versus 3 attacks? What does it make? Like, how do you know? Well, an easy rule of thumb is if you're using an invigoration hero, such as a Dolores on your team, you can err on the side of building your nuker on that team in Dolores's range with crit damage, because you're already going to get such a massive attack bonus from the invigoration buff, so it affords you the luxury of stacking up extra crit damage when you're building that specific hero, okay? Number 2 is attack speed means a lot in this game. 266, that's not very fast, really. I mean, it's not bad, but attack speed, I mean, it's intuitive. But sometimes, at least with me, you know, like, yeah, when you're attacking more, you're doing more damage, right? I mean, that's pretty basic, right? Especially healers, you're doing more healing, right? Attack speed's huge in this game. It's huge, okay? So attacks, but that being said, for my nukers here specifically, I don't like going attack speed as a main stat on my my amulet, okay? But attack speed is important to look for on healers, on tanks, on nukers. It's a very important substat to look for on your gear because they're doing more damage, more healing on their basic, or, you know, in some cases they're getting to their ultimate faster, right? Mert Inc. has a great video talking about how to build defenders in this game, and he pointed to Regulus. It was like, dude, this is a dude, I don't even think I have him built right now on my account, who, heck, man, every 4 basic attacks at launch restores 6 rage. People don't actually read the kits of these heroes. If you read, it doesn't have to be Regulus, but deals damage to 1 enemy, great. Increases defense by 5% for every 1 enemy blocked, okay, noted. Restores 6% extra, or 6 extra rage for every 4 basic attacks launched. Anybody who's restoring rage or doing something awesome on their basic per attack launched, you want them to do more of it, right? So attack speed is crucial, okay? So always read, and just, like, you know, don't rely on websites necessarily. Don't rely on YouTube channels like yours truly. First and foremost, just read the kit and think about what makes sense intuitively based on it, you know? So damage-wise, the other thing I want to mention, the last kind of note on building nukers, right, in this game, is crit rate. Okay, I'm coming from Raid Shadow Legends again, guys. Crit rate is everything in Raid Shadow Legends. I remember 5 years ago, I started making my first content for Raid. I remember getting so much hate because I was like showing a Kale build or whatever with like 40% crit rate, right? And that's pretty extreme. Maybe it was like 70 or something. But I remember being like, dude, this dude doesn't even build 100% crit rate. Crit cap his heroes. Well, this game's a little bit different, okay? You'll notice I do have Hatsuit crit capped, but Silas, yeah, like in a perfect world, if you look at the end game builds, specifically in Guild Boss, where you want things to be consistent, right? It is important to get 100% crit rate. But for progression, which is 99% of you guys for the most part, right? For progression, the coolest thing about this game, it goes back to the first point I was making, right? About free gear removal, free gear swaps. We have to take advantage of that as players in this game. They're throwing us a big fat bone, and we need to use it. We need to retrieve it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyway, you guys get the point here. We need to take advantage of this stuff. So what is it we're taking advantage of when it comes to crit rate? We're taking advantage of, there's no energy. I mean, there is a stamina cost, right? But we can keep redoing when we're trying to clear something for the first time. Void Rift, campaign, a new stage of gear raids, whatever, right? We have a million restarts. They don't charge us more stamina on another battle when we restart it. We can just keep going. We can just keep trying. So the RNG of an 80% crit rate, if I'm failing to kill one specific mob, I just restart and try again. So for that reason, yeah, eventually, ideally, in a perfect world, we do want to get crit rate to 100% on all of our nukers. But for progression, I'd much rather have, like, not go crit rate as a main stat. That's a big takeaway here. Don't go crit rate as a main stat on your Bangle. Instead, go attack percentage and crit damage, like we already spoke about, right? If you're not going to take advantage of invigoration, I tend to err on the side of going attack percentage, crit damage. Basically 2 attack percentages and 1 crit damage, right? There's so much more to talk about here, guys. We could get into all the classes of heroes in the game, common gearing mistakes, but I want to keep this one pretty high level and pretty basic. Because frankly, going back to the comment, I don't want more of you guys to quit. I don't want more of you guys to be frustrated. I've given you a lot of advice, either when it comes to muling and being ready and preparing yourself mentally for muling around your best gear on your account. I talked about what makes the biggest difference in terms of invigoration, in terms of the stats that you want to look for, and how things change depending on the different heroes on the team. I'm going to leave you guys with that for now. There's a lot more to be said here. I want to throw it to you guys. If you have any specific questions around gearing, please ask me them in the comments. If I don't know, the one thing about me, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, I am not too proud to say I don't know and to go freaking find out for you guys, right? So I'll bring a guest on and I'll field some really challenging questions if you have them. Otherwise, I'll let you know if I know. So guys, much love. Hopefully this helps some of you guys out there. And as always, take care.